Alrighty, it is 5 o'clock. We will go ahead and begin this meeting of the City of Kokomo Board of Zoning Appeals. We will go ahead and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. So I invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would ask at this time if you have a cell phone just to make sure that it is on silent or vibrate. I will do the same with mine. And before we really get into things this evening, I will point out a couple things. Number one, this board is made up of 5 voting members. This evening, 4 of those voting members are here. So I always like to point that out in case, maybe someone wants to have all 5 voting members hear your case. Just so you know, that's an option.
Our 5th may be here. She had a doctor's appointment. She may be here, but I don't know.
So this empty seat right here, if it gets filled, all 5 of us will be here. Also, our legal representation up here, our attorney, our counsel is not here this evening. So we might get to a spot where we're just normal, average citizens. So we might get to a spot where we feel uncomfortable moving forward because we might need to ask for legal counsel. So that might be the case as well. So just kind of give you a couple heads up on that. For those of you who haven't been here before, we'll call you forward. We'll ask you to tell us your name and address for the record because this is all being recorded. That way we'll have that on the record. We'll ask you to just tell us a little bit about it, what it is that brings you here this evening. We'll have you read your findings of fact. We'll hear the staff findings of fact. We'll ask whatever questions we might have, and then we'll open the floor for others who might have questions or concerns or comments in favor or against to come forward. If that's you, we would ask that you again state your name and address for the record. Anyone, the first time you come up, if you give us that information, and then we'll ultimately the board will vote. So that being said, our first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our June 5th, 2018 meeting.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the June meeting.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of the approval of those June 5th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. And Ms. Rink is here, so you get a full board tonight. All right, Mr. Sheline, we'll turn to you for our first case.
We do have 4 continuances tonight, Mr. President, we want to bring up before we get into our regular agenda. The first case, item number 2, 13V18. This is the case for Menards. We're asking for a continuance for that case. A couple of issues that still need to be worked out before we can vote on that. And you go down to items number 8 and 9, case 7SE18 and case 15V18, MetroNet. Again, a couple of issues that we need to work out. We've all came to an agreement, but they did not get the plans back to us in time. So we would ask for continuances on both of those cases. And then our last case, item number 12, case 1A17, the appeal hearing on Burkhart's advertising notice of violation letter. They've asked for a continuance this morning. So those 4, we would like to get a consensus on the vote to continue those 4 cases.
Okay, we don't need a motion.
Don't need a motion unless someone is against it.
And have an issue with that? Okay, so for those of you in the audience, if you happen to be here for the case regarding Menards or the case at 915 South Purdom Street or the Burkhart advertising case, we will not be hearing those this evening. So if you're here for any of those cases, you're free to go, and we'll see you next month at our next regular meeting. If you're here for any of the other cases, we will just continue on.
Now, we do have a fairly large agenda, so we'll get right into it. Next is item number 3, case 12V18, the petition of Stephen Heflin for Ashley Brantley requesting a variance of 440 square feet to section 6.10B in an R4 zone for property described as Miller and Harbaugh's Franklin Edition, lots 199 through 201, City of Kokomo, Center Township, Howard County, Indiana, at 1818 South Webster Street.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion on case 12V18?
I move that we approve case number 12V18 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board, and make those findings part of our record.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Heflin, if you'd come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. Kind of tell us what it is that brings you here this evening.
Steve Heflin, 600 West Ricketts.
Can you step just a little closer, sorry?
Steve Heflin, 600 West Ricketts, Kokomo, 02. We're wanting to build this garage on the addition of the lot that we purchased and combined at Ashley's, so we wouldn't have to lease a building in Monticello for our boating toys.
Okay. Will this be an attached garage, detached garage?
No, it'll be a separate one right beside the one that was taken out by the tornado.
Okay. Alrighty. I'm looking at the packet here. It says it will be a 24 by 36 garage.
Yes.
On the northeastern corner of the property. All right. Would you want to go ahead and read for the staff your findings of fact?
Yes. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and the general welfare of the community. It will be built even with the existing garage on the back of the lot. It will have matching design, color, and siding. The use and the value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. It will be well built and maintained as the existing garage also is. Strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be biased on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. And I won't be able to utilize the property that we purchased without putting the garage for the boat and the other items.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Sheeline if he would read the staff findings of fact, and then I'll ask the board if we have any questions or comments.
Yeah, staff findings for case 12V18, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed structure will be built towards the rear of the property adjacent to the existing garage. It will meet all setback requirements and will not encroach on any recorded easements. The new garage will not be harmful to the surrounding community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting this variance would allow the petitioner to build a new modern garage that will improve the value of the property. A large garage is compatible with the surrounding area. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation should not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. Without the variance, the petitioner would be able to build a smaller garage, but would be unable to use it as planned to store a new boat. This leaves the petitioner unable to fully utilize the property as desired and would force them to either pay for another storage space or leave the boat outside of the markets.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board regarding this case?
How tall is this building going to be?
I'd have to look at it's going to match the existing 24 by 24 that Ashley's already got.
How many doors are you going to have?
2 or 3.
You going to come in off the alley?
2.
Have
Yes.
access doors on any of the other sides?
Yeah, there's a spot in there for pedestrian door, I think, on the south side, and then 2 windows.
So no vehicle entrance that would require a drive up to the front of the...
The lot already had an existing drive on it when the tornado took it out. We never did anything with it, but it's still got access off of Webster Street. But primarily, the movement's going to be off the alley.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is there anyone from the audience who'd like to be heard regarding this case? Okay, hearing no comments or any more questions from the board, hearing no one from the audience, we do have a motion for the approval of case 12V18. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sheeline?
The next case tonight, Mr. President, is item number 4, case 10-V18. The petition of Alan Addington requesting a variance to construct a home addition on property described as Patterson Park Lot 27, City of Pilkmo Center Township, Howard County, at 1922 South Main Street. And Mr. Hunter is here to represent the case.
Okay, do I have a motion regarding case 10-V18?
I move that we approve case 10-V18 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of the record. And any additional comments?
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hunter, if you'd go ahead and give us your name and address for the record?
Of course. My name is Jim Hunter. My address is 222 Westmoreland Drive, Kokomo, Indiana.
All right, and just, if you want to go ahead and tell us what it is we're going to...
Sure, of course. I'd like to call your attention to the plot plan, if I may, the site plan, because this is a very unique situation. Actually, this lot has 3 front yards. You don't find that very often. And the reason for building on this side of the house, there's an existing bathroom there that the Addingtons want to enlarge, and also they'd like to create a laundry room there too. I, many years ago, had an old house with the laundry down in the basement, and it could be construed a hardship, especially with the knees getting older. And I'd like to point out also on that site plan, there's only one other house on this side of Sylvan Court. Next, it's to the east of Mr. Addington. And even though this is called a court, there's no cul-de-sac there. It's just, Sylvan just dead ends. And actually, there's a 16-foot alley at a 90-degree turn, though, so I guess it's not landlocked. But it's almost a dead-end street. Mr. Johnston is the neighbor that's mostly affected. He's to the east. Is the other house on the south side of Sylvan Court, along with Mr. Addington. And after showing him the plans, he said he had no problem with this proposal at all.
Mr. Hunter is correct. It's bad enough when you have 2 front yards, but when you get a home that has 3 front yards, it makes it very difficult to work within the ordinance. So therefore, the need for the variance.
Yeah, definitely. And not only that, but it's also kind of an odd-shaped lot there with the
I might add that Mr.
corner on one
Addington
and the curve on the other.
is present. If you had any specific questions for him, he's in the audience.
Okay. Okay, so building the addition, is this an attached?
Yes.
Okay, to the addition to the house, I'm sorry. Okay.
Right.
I'll be all right.
Got a question for you.
What's that?
Did I have a question?
Question, okay.
Here it says it's a 23 by 26 edition, and on the drawing, it looks like it's a 13 by 26 edition.
Right.
But
What I did there, Mr. Myers, I included the biggest dimensions, the overall dimensions. 26 feet east and west, and 13 feet, and plus he's going to square off that little corner of his house, so we added that 10 feet there too, making it 23 by 26. Okay. So it's just a matter of schematics, and just did that.
A 2-story addition, because I noticed the house is 2-story, the tower is just going to be 1-story.
I think it's a 1-story, isn't that right, Mr. Addington? 1-story? 1-story. Yes, I thought so.
Okay. If you want to go ahead and read your findings of fact.
Sure. The approval would not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and welfare. We felt these items would not be affected by the granting of this variance. Number 2, the use of the value of the area adjacent to this property included in the variance will not be affected in an adverse manner. This addition will be constructed, well constructed, and maintained in a workmanlike fashion. And finally, 3, this is the one we're hanging our hat on here, the strict application would result in practical difficulty. The situation is not self-imposed nor be a perceived reduction of restrictions. As I pointed out before, this property has 3 front yards, and it makes it almost impossible to add on to.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Sheehan?
Staff findings for case 10-V18, the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The variance of the proposed addition will not impede on any recorded easements and is placed in the northeast corner of the property where it will not block traffic views. It will not allow the petitioner to impede on the property lines of the neighboring parcels and will not be injurious to the general community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting this variance will allow the petitioner to expand his home to a size comparable to other homes in the area and will improve the value of his home and property. Increasing the desirability of this property will positively impact the surrounding neighborhood. A strict application of terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variance is not granted, the petitioner will be faced with the practical difficulty due to the opposition of the lot. It is placed on a corner that gives it free frontages on Sylvan Court, Main Street, and Leafy Lane. As front yard setbacks are much larger than side yard setbacks, this position makes it nearly impossible to make additions to the property and renders the petitioner unable to utilize their property as they desire.
Thank you. All right, any questions or comments from the board at this time? Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay, if not, we do have a motion and a second for the approval of case 10-V18. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Okay, Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hunter, you're leaving. Sorry, Mr. Sheline. You've already had your turn up here.
Jim's done this a few times.
Yeah.
He can sit up here and do this for me. I could go home.
Mr. Sheline.
Case 11-V18, the petition of Ronald Doubles requesting a variance of 65 square foot to section 3.18 minimum floor area per unit in an M2 zone on property described as Mason Addition, Lot 6 through 9, City of Kokomo, Center Township, Howard County, Indiana, at 1560 South Plate Street.
Okay, do I have a motion on case 11-V18?
I move that we approve case number 11-V18 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board, making those findings part of our record.
Second.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Doubles?
Yes.
If you go ahead and state your name and address for the record and tell us what you're planning on doing here.
Okay. Ron Doubles, 906 North, 600 West, Kokomo, owner of Crestview Apartments. This is we're just asking for a variance to the M2 zoning. We're going to be coming next week for the M2 zoning, but in order to fulfill that properly, it requires 800 square feet for each unit. That is an exceptionally large amount of space for a one-bedroom. There are no other one-bedrooms in our area, maybe not even in our city, that are 800 square feet. But for a 2 or 3 or 4 bedroom, yes, that's a good design. So I'm just asking, the apartments that I'm planning to build are 735 square feet, very large one-bedrooms, but it is 65 square feet smaller than the required in an M2 zone.
Okay, thank you. And if you'll go ahead and share with us your findings of fact.
All right. Number 1, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. My response, the new apartments that will be built are replacing the old dilapidated nursing home daycare center and will be a definite upgrade to Plate Street. Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantial adverse manner. My response, the property values will be enhanced due to a new, well-maintained building of apartments on this property. Number 3, the strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. My response here is to all of the other one-bedroom apartments in our area are 650 square feet or less. These new apartments will be 735 square feet, plus 50 square feet of patio, plus entry hallway. There will be a nice large, these will be very nice, large, one-bedroom apartments.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sheeline?
Staff findings for, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just want to do port order. I don't know if you did it on the last case, but you didn't ask for ex parte here, so I want you to.
Thank you.
I literally don't remember the first two, but I was sitting there and it hit me, so just bring it to you.
Yep, good point. I'm going to pause here. I will ask, actually, for this case first, did anyone, have any board members had any ex parte communication regarding 11V18? Nope. Okay, and I will go back just for safety's sake and ask if anyone had any ex parte communication prior to case 12V18 being heard this evening? No. Or ex parte communication regarding case 10V18? Nope. Thank you very much for pointing that out.
No problem. I didn't want council to give us a whipping out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, staff findings for 11V18. The approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The planned structures will be built within setback requirements and outside of any recorded easements. The small floor area will not pose a threat to the welfare of the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting this variance will positively impact the surrounding area, infilling the currently vacant lots with new and useful structures. Property values in the surrounding community should benefit from the addition of such a structure. The strict application of terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variance is not granted, the petitioner will have to alter his current plans and will be unable to utilize his property as he desires. Increasing the square footage of the apartments by 65 square foot each to meet the required minimum adds a total of 520 square feet of floor area to the plans, almost a whole apartment. This large addition would place financial strain on the petitioner.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions at this point from the board?
Yes, these apartments going to face to the north, is that right?
Yes, they will.
Yeah, I noticed when I was by there that there's a large pipe coming out of the ground on the southwest corner of that lot. What?
Yeah. That was the fire prevention in the old nursing home. It'll probably be torn out this next week. The whole thing will be torn out of there.
Okay. Makes sense.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay. All right. So we do have a motion for the approval of case 11V18, and it has been seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Yes. Thank you. All right. Mr. Sheeline.
This case is case 14V18, petition of Dave Van Balen for 6G Properties LLC, requesting a variance of 5 feet to section 3.18 minimum front yard setback on the north elevations in an M2 zone, Center Township, Howard County, Indiana, at 2110 South of Fountain Street.
Do I have a motion on case 14V18?
I move that we approve case 14V18 and adopt the findings of the petitioner. Those of the board and make those findings part of the record. Any additional comments?
Seconded.
Okay. All right. Have any board members had any ex parte communication regarding case 14V18? No. Okay. Go ahead, and if you'll tell us your name and address and get into it.
Okay. Ethan Yoder, 11020 Diebold Road, Fort Wayne, Indiana, 46845.
All right. And what is it we're discussing tonight?
Reducing the setback along Boulevard Street from 10 feet to 5 feet in an M2 district.
Okay. Can you go ahead and explain what the plan is for this property then?
To have a student housing
Okay.
building, and yeah.
This is the corner of Boulevard and LaFountain.
Yep.
Okay. All righty. So we just have the one request here. If you want to go ahead and read your findings of fact for us.
Okay. The approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community, as it is a relatively minor setback reduction of 5 feet. It will not impact the way people use the right-of-way of Boulevard Street or the safe use of this space. It will help to improve the safety of the users of the site by allowing for a safe entry drive lane width and safe building and entry drive separation dimension on the south side of the building. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The variance request is a matter of building placement along the right-of-way and does not directly affect the adjacent property's use of their properties. The building location on the site is not expected to have any effect on the adjacent property values. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. The situation shall not be self-imposed nor based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. The strict application of the zoning ordinance will make it difficult to appropriately locate the building on the site so that it protects both the safety and welfare of users along Boulevard Street and the users of the site's entry drive. The approval will allow the required landscape screening south of the entry drive, a safe entry drive width, safe building and entry drive separation distance, and the safe and full use of the Boulevard Street right-of-way.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And staff findings?
Staff findings for case 14V18, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, general welfare of the community. The approval of this variance will not be detrimental to the welfare of the community. The building will still be outside any recorded easements, will not encroach on neighboring property lines, and will not pose a vision clearance hazard. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. Granting this variance will have little or no impact on the adjacent area. However, infilling the currently vacant lot with a new modern apartment facility will have a positive impact on the value of this property and those surrounding. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in a practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If the variance is not granted, the petitioner will be unable to position the building as planned and be forced to alter the current plans for the building and parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board at this time for the petitioner or staff?
This is only affecting the northern facing of the building, putting it
Yes.
5
Yes, correct.
5 feet of the sidewalk.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this case? Okay. We got someone coming up, then we'll let you guys come up after. Again, if you'll state your name and address for the record, it looks like there are at least a couple people wanting to speak. So one thing I would ask, a lot of times when we have multiple people wanting to speak, people will repeat the same thing, but we do hear it. So I would ask to just kind of pay attention to what people are saying, and if you're coming up to speak, maybe if you have something to add to that, but you know, to hear the same thing multiple times it won't help necessarily one way or the other. So, all right,
Thanks. Mark Bradford, property owner of 503 East Boulevard, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901, I believe. 2. That's a 2. Thank you. The only thing I had heard in this whole situation was they're trying to reduce that variance. They're cutting it in half, 10 foot to 5 foot. Really, the only reason why they're trying to do that is they're trying to shoehorn in a building that's a little too large, not enough parking spaces, not enough area to be able to get that driveway in off of LaFountain on the south side. So obviously, like you said in your petition, it would force that person to redesign a building, shrink the building, take 2 or 3 apartments out, whatever the case might be. But there again, we've got all the homes that are along that boulevard are about somewhere around 15 to 18 foot off the street in one straight line. And we're asking this home or this structure could potentially be cut down to 5 foot. So in my mind, as a property owner through there, you're now having this new building that's going to be set way out close to the road, basically to satisfy a numbers system with the apartments instead of asking them to structure something that's actually fit to build on the lot that they've purchased. So I just want you to take that in consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I will say that in the ordinance that we have now, there is a desire, and if you go by almost any of our new developments that we've done in the last 5 years, I would say, the goal is to move those buildings closer to the road and have the parking more at the side and the rear instead of having an expanse of concrete parking out front. That's the whole idea.
I agree with that. Most of those developments have actually been done in areas that are not 100% based residential. That area is based almost 100% residential, other than City Garage on down to the east and some businesses to the east. But that whole corner, everything is all completely residential. If you look at some of the other ones where you've done that development here in town, north of downtown and everything, they're in a lot of commercial areas already that have that kind of structure to them. So,
Thank you.
So what am I supposed to do first? Say my name?
Yes, name and address.
Paul Stout, 425 East Boulevard, right next door. We will not be able to get out of our driveway without getting hit. That is Chrysler area. I cannot leave right now when I can see someone at the stop sign coming off of La Fountain will hit me if I'm backing out onto the road. If I can't see, I'm done. There's no way. I thought they were going to move it back farther away from the road. They're moving it closer. We won't be able to get out of our driveway. It's hard now. I get flipped off and cussed at just coming out of the driveway now when they're at the stop sign. We're not going to be able to see. We're going to get hit. It is a safety risk, and it does pose a threat to citizens right next door.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, are you the first house to the east then?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Roberta Stout, 425 East Boulevard, Kokomo. I have pictures that show how difficult this is going to be, not for just our house, but the houses down through there. You know, we do have a small child. It is literally going to be hazardous for all of us. People come flying down through there, and I've been told this is going to slow the traffic down. That makes it even worse for us that have to back out. And then I was told, well, you could pull into your driveway. Okay, well, we have to stop traffic to try to pull, back into our driveway. So either way we go, we're the most affected house there. The building is going to be so close to our home. They're taking up the back of the whole thing. When we look out our kitchen windows and the neighbor looks out, we're gonna see a parking lot instead of seeing the deer, seeing the foxes that run through there. And people are gonna be up in their rooms looking over into our backyard. Even if we put up a privacy fence, those people are still going to be able to see right into our yard, whatever we're doing. The kids are out there playing, we have company, or whatever. This is just going to be such a hassle, a hazard. I was told it will reduce our crime rate in that area. We have no crime rate. We don't have people breaking into our homes. We have accidents because people come flying down through there. I don't see how this is going to be a positive thing for the rest of our homes. They have a stake right now, and I have a picture of it, about this far from the edge of our driveway. I'm like, okay. So we have to be very careful coming into our driveway, backing in, pulling out, whatever. I just don't see how this is going to be a positive thing for the rest of us homes down through there. We literally had a guy almost rear-end us one day trying to get out to go pick the child up from school. The wife is sticking her tongue out, cussing up a storm at us. It is just an impossible thing for that building to be there and us to have safety trying to get in and out of our driveway. And like I said, I have pictures I can show you right before we left. All the Chrysler people, we couldn't get out of our driveway the way it was. We just have to sit and wait and wait and wait. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. And I will say, I think there's at least one other person wanting to come up. But I will say, just to throw out there, this case that our board is hearing tonight, believe it or not, with an apartment complex, usually when it comes to our board, there are multiple requests that we're looking at for variances. So this is actually a real minor one that I would imagine if this board would vote no, this board won't determine whether or not this apartment complex is going there, with the, the variance with the request they're making. So, it's such a little one compared to some of the ones that we've seen. So, if you'll step up and then.
What's little?
I'm just saying that the distance.
If they move it back, it's not little if I get killed.
Keep in mind.
That's not little.
All we're looking at tonight is the 5-foot setback.
Right. They're moving it closer to the road. That's my issue.
I understand, but I'm saying some of these questions that have already been talked about tonight, they will be answered in next week's meeting because that's when the site plan approval.
Yeah, I was just talking, and she talked about other things. I was just talking about initially when I saw the picture in the paper, they had it really far off the road. Now they're saying they're going to move it 5 feet closer. That's what I'm saying. It's not little if I die.
Well, what he's saying is the normal setback is 10 foot.
Take some of your parking lot that's way back there, make your parking lot a little smaller, like the first gentleman said. Because you got all that back there to make a parking lot with. You don't have to shove it out to the road, then we can see to get out. I have to be able to see something. So it's not little, and to me.
Sure.
Okay, I just want to clear that up.
Understandable.
Thank you, because it felt bad when you said it was little.
All right. No, I'm just saying, compared to some of the things that have come before this board.
I'm not comparing other things, just in one situation here, that's it.
What he is saying is the normal setback is 10 foot.
Right.
So if they were 10 foot back, they wouldn't even be before this board.
Right.
They wouldn't have to have a variance. So they're asking for a 5 foot. That's when he said it's minor. That's what.
Right, and I'm hoping they don't get 5 feet. They can take 5 feet the other way because they purchased the property, like the first gentleman said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Schilling?
Yes.
Have they done the triangle study? Is it okay on the corner, or do they do that?
According to the city engineer's office, it is okay.
Does that, when they do that triangle study, do they consider that gentleman's driveway?
I would assume so, yes. I would assume they consider any driveways that are adjacent to the property.
Beverly Moss, 2120 South LaFountain. We're the first house south.
On the same side of the road?
On LaFountain, yeah, we'll have the parking lot in our yard, basically. So when the sidewalks are put in, is this a proper place to ask? Will the sidewalks be on both sides of the street or just on the east side of the street?
That needs to be asked in next week's meeting, ma'am, because that's site plan approval. I believe they are, but I certainly wouldn't go on record as saying that.
Okay.
But we will have that. We will have the city engineer here at next Tuesday night's meeting, and he will have all that information.
Okay, and then that would be the proper place to address. I've already had strangers in my backyard at 7:30 in the morning, and had utility companies parking their equipment in our driveway for hours at a time. And so the next meeting would be the appropriate time to say, you can't do this. Okay, we need our privacy.
That's correct.
Okay.
Ethan Yoder, 11021 or 20 Diebold Road, Fort Wayne, Indiana. I would like to add that the city engineer actually requested an additional 5 feet of right-of-way along Boulevard Street, and so we weren't planning on that, so we did have to shift the building, south 5 feet to accommodate that, and then we're kind of like, well, now that hurts us, and so can we put it back 5 feet north to where we originally had it? So really, it wouldn't have moved, it hasn't moved 5 feet closer necessarily. It's just that the right-of-way's been pushed out. So it's no closer to the road, it's just closer to the right-of-way essentially. But anyway, so I just wanted to add that piece of information too, so.
Thank you.
I don't understand it. Why did the city engineer do that?
I don't know why the city engineer requested the extra 5 foot.
Yeah,
We're gonna do
Mr.
some
Weber?
real fast.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, because that's kind of where I'm asking some questions as well.
I believe it was to incorporate a sidewalk safely through there. There's utility poles there, and it's tough to squeeze that sidewalk between the utility poles and the street. Grade-wise, it doesn't work, so we had to put it on the back side.
Sidewalks.
Yeah, so I believe so. Don't, quote me on that, but I believe that was his intent, so.
I'm trying to remember, that area there now, how wide are the sidewalks?
There are
Are
no
the
sidewalks, no.
now? So there would be sidewalks?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Mark Bradford again, 503 East Boulevard, Kokomo, Indiana. Just wanted to comment on that. I was curious, so the way I understood the gentleman that said that was originally the city engineer stated they needed to maintain the 10-foot, and now the corporation that wants to build this has come back and re-asked for them to variance the additional, or subtract 5 foot in a variance. Is that the way I understand what he stated?
We'll let Mr. Yoder address that since he's the one that said that.
Okay.
So originally, when we laid this out, we had it at the 10-foot setback, and then the city engineer came to us and said, hey, we would like an additional 5 feet of right-of-way.
So they really wanted it 15 off of Boulevard?
I believe it's 20 from the center line of Boulevard Street is the right-of-way line.
Okay.
And then he wanted an additional 5
additional
feet.
5.
Yeah, so that pushes the setback, that 10-foot setback, back 5 feet.
To 15.
From the original one,
Correct.
yeah, yeah.
In theory, correct. You're
Yeah.
wanting to go back to the original 10 and subtract 5.
No, just back to the original. So,
Are you just as confused as me or not?
Now, they took 5 feet away from the builder to give the easement
Right.
for the right, but there's still a delta of 5 feet there that it's not there.
Right.
yeah.
And then do you know, was a traffic study done for sure?
Sure, the traffic study is done, but I don't know, my question is, they have a triangle, they have a standard where they
Right.
go out and they measure.
Right.
And my question is, and I've never ever known not to do it, but I've never ever had anybody tell me a driveway was in there, so I don't know if.
Yeah, their driveway is right along the edge
I
of their
don't know if
property
that
line.
study took into consideration that gentleman trying to back out of his driveway is my question.
Correct. And that's why I was going to let this gentleman know to make sure he found that study and read it prior to next week's meeting. It should be public knowledge if it has been completed.
True.
Call the state engineer's office. They'll
Yeah.
have it. They'll have it.
Right.
City engineer.
City engineer.
Yes, they would have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a high ignorance to elements.
Pardon me?
I have a high level of ignorance to elements.
No, you don't. You're just a newbie. It's
That's what I'm
okay.
saying.
It's all right.
From the center of the board. Basically, the building's 15 foot south.
The building's gonna be where it was. It's just 5 foot of extra right of way.
This is
to
the
put in
sidewalk, so we're
sidewalks.
coming off the sidewalk,
That's basically
coming
what
off the
this
roadway
is.
anyway. They just want to move it closer to where it was.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's your question for Mr. Yoder?
Oh, I know. Right.
We give the 5 feet to the city
Oh, I
for
agree.
the sidewalk. So the building is where it was originally. It physically hasn't moved, but we need a variance because we give 5 feet to the city.
Yes, you are correct.
Which is that 10-foot setback of 5 feet. I agree. Towards the
But
property.
the building is not moved.
The building would essentially be the city.
The building set exactly where it was originally set.
Yep.
You just give 5 feet to utility for the sidewalk.
To put
So the
sidewalks
sidewalk's
that
gonna
we don't
take
have.
out 5, instead of 10 feet there, it's gonna be 5 feet plus the sidewalk and the smaller grass area, which is gonna be 5.
Correct.
So
So the
if
building
you'll
has.
jump back to that, Mike, for us, just in case we need to record this.
Yep.
I mean, so we can hear all
Yeah,
of this.
sorry.
So what the question is up here, Mike, we go ahead and ask that again? Make sure we're,
The building footprint didn't move. The city engineer asked for a 5-foot variance from you people so that he had room for a sidewalk.
I believe that was the intent.
So your building is setting aesthetically the same place it was, but instead of having a 10-foot setback, you're gonna have a 5-foot setback plus a sidewalk and a grassy area.
Yes, correct.
so that being said, if there were no sidewalk put in,
Mhm.
you wouldn't be here this evening.
I don't believe so. You'd have to verify that with the city engineer, but I believe that was the intent.
Me, yes.
So if the city, if this board says no tonight,
Mhm.
the city might say, go ahead and, I mean, you can go ahead and still build exactly where you're planning.
Yeah,
There just won't be a sidewalk access.
exactly, yeah.
The reason I bring that up is sometimes it's key to realize we've had situations where this board has said nope, and then something even worse was legal to go there, like this kind of situation I'm talking about. That's why, I mean, you know, I think sometimes the questions or sometimes these kind of things shine a different light on things. So, for example, you know, when we get a petitioner who wants to put a garage right here and the neighbors come up and say, no, 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 because of this, this, and this.
Where is it?
And, well, yeah, good points, okay, no. And then the neighbor the petitioner can actually legally do a different kind of garage, one that's attached versus detached, or detached versus attached. That's even closer to the property line than the other one. Mr. Hunter's nodding. Mr. Hunter was the plan commissioner for years, and I was on the board under him, and, you know, sometimes we see that kind of thing, and it can be more difficult, so just pointing that out.
Okay, appreciate it.
Thank you. If you want to step forward again.
Roberta Stout, 425 East Boulevard. I have one question for him. With the sidewalk, there's a utility pole right there, which is our utility pole. Is that going to be affected by the sidewalk? Are they going to have to take that pole down? Are we going to be without electricity while they do whatever it is they need to do with that sidewalk?
That's up to the utility company, whether they have to reroute your service. They won't have to take out the pole, I don't believe, but they might have to bury your service.
And Mrs. Stout, if I can jump in here, sorry.
That's fine.
That's actually, so some questions, I tried to say at the beginning because I saw we had a lot more people here than usual. I'm trying to kind of explain a little bit how this process works. So if this board says, yep, okay, or not, I mean, if we say no, then they'll just say, maybe, I don't know what they're going to say, but they can very easily say, well, we won't deal with the sidewalk. It's been fine with no sidewalk up to this point. It'll be fine with no sidewalk after this. Go ahead and put your building where you want to put it. Next week, whether this board approves this or not, I would imagine that this group will be up here next week, and that's the board that really answers those kinds of questions. So sometimes we might say, hold that question until next week. So it's because this board really doesn't have, we have this much authority. Next week, they have a lot, and that's where you ask that kind of question. And as Mr. Sheeline pointed out to you, you know, with the utilities and people in your backyard, and next week is the board that you bring that kind of stuff up to and say, you know, here are our concerns. Let's address those there. One other, just a quick little example that popped into my head is we've had businesses in town. One of them was one of the McDonald's, had a sign that was this tall. They wanted to bring their sign down to this height, but because the new laws say it has to be right here. Our board could have said, nope, you can't do that. So they, okay, well then we'll leave this big sign up here. Does that make sense? I mean, so they've wanted to put in a new lower sign, but it's a little bit higher than what the current law allows. And if we said no, then they'd just leave that tall sign there. So sometimes this board says, sometimes we have to say yes, and it seems like that wasn't the best idea. Well, the alternative, believe it or not, was a worse idea. And we don't always see that. And those of you who are parents probably have had to deal with that before when disciplining a child, when not allowing your child to do something, or when making your child do something. Sometimes they don't see the consequences that would have happened the other way. That's coming from a bachelor, by the way. But I taught for a while, so I was kind of a parent. Okay, anyone
Yeah, I wanna
on
ask
the
a
board
question.
have questions or comments?
Go ahead, Mike.
What you said about the sidewalks sounds good, but I don't believe there's been a development the last 8 to 10 years that didn't have a sidewalk. If it's a sidewalk from nowhere, everybody that's had a development's had a sidewalk. So
Correct.
to sit here and say that
No,
you think
they have, do they have to?
you've heard the bridge from nowhere, you can go out and I'll give you classic one. There's a lot of places that there has been no sidewalks, but a new development come in, and there might be 10 businesses this way and 10 businesses this way. That new business has a sidewalk.
Right.
The rest of them does not. I just don't think
Sonic's
they
a
have
private
set that standard that all new developments are going to have a sidewalk. So to make the statement that we can say one thing and they're just going to take the sidewalk away, I don't think it's a fair
No,
statement.
because
it's just not going to happen.
The goal since I've been in this position since 2010 is to get more sidewalks in the city of Kokomo.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is start with new developments.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to start with old neighborhoods. You start with new developments, and yes, sometimes there are sidewalks to nowhere, but the point is, the next guy that builds here, he'll continue that sidewalk and so on down the line. So we have been very diligent in trying to get new sidewalks for every development. As a matter of fact, we've told a couple of developers if they didn't want to put sidewalks in, we weren't going to approve. So it's something that we've been very diligent in to try to get in all new developments. And sometimes they are to nowhere, but in 5 or 10 years, they'll all connect. We are trying to make this all a more walkable community. It's hard to do without sidewalks, so that's the goal.
Lisa?
Yeah, I have a question. How long have you guys lived in that home?
It's 2008.
2008. Were you there when the gentleman owned the property before and was there? Okay. With that being said, I don't know how you got out of your driveway then, because the yard was unkept. No one ever hardly mowed there. Let me finish, please. He had been turned into the city plenty of times for the way his property looked and it being overgrown. And so I believe anybody that lived along there when he was there would have had a tough time getting out of their drive, because you wouldn't have been able to see anything because you couldn't even see his home. Furthermore, I go to the beauty shop down the street. Is Boulevard a tough area to get out of? Absolutely. I work at Chrysler. It's tough to get out of Chrysler on Boulevard, let alone down where there's homes. Hopefully they can do something with Boulevard to change all that, to maybe slow the traffic down. Don't know how, but that would be a possibility. But you're just in a situation with a street that people race down because when they get off work, they think they got to be home 2 minutes later. And that's the consequences. With that being said, I live in a neighborhood in town that doesn't have a sidewalk, never has. I raised a daughter there, and I'm a bachelorette. And with that being said, I would have loved to have had a sidewalk, because then I would have felt there was a buffer between my child playing in my yard versus the street being right there in the grassy area of my yard. We never got sidewalks, but I would have loved it. So a sidewalk might be a buffer for you and your child you talked about. Be better having a sidewalk there than them being right up on the street.
The sidewalk ends at our property.
Excuse me?
The sidewalk ends at our property.
Yeah, I won't go across.
But you don't know if the city won't go on down the road.
I don't know that.
With that. You don't know that.
They can't. They can't.
Why can't they?
On the right hand, on the south side of the boulevard, headed east. Excuse me, but the golf course down there has got a fence right alongside of the road.
That's what I was going to talk about. I guess
Well, I'm going to tell you something.
I'm not talking about sidewalks in front of everybody's house. I'm
I'm not either. I said they could down the road.
That stop sign down there.
I'm sure people going down Apperson Way didn't think there would be islands in it either at one time. There is.
Sir,
Everything's possible.
Would you step to the mic and say your name and address, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I lived at that home at 425 East Boulevard for 10 years. I haven't been in there in 10 years.
And your name?
Okay. I bought the house.
Your name?
Richard B. Healer. Richard B. Healer.
Okay. And your address, your current address?
I live over by Amboy. It's 3228 East, 950 South, Amboy. They've never been able to control that stop sign, that four-way stop. And I don't know if you gentlemen are aware, but back in the day, if they didn't have a stop sign up at a four-way intersection, everybody had to stop when they got there, and the first one there had the right-of-way. The one on the right, It's just the way it worked. They don't stop at that stop sign, and I guarantee you, with a sidewalk running up through there, I really don't mind. I don't live there now. But the pedestrians are going to be in trouble at that stop sign. They have a lot of accidents there. People don't stop. By the time they'd get to my driveway, where Paul lives now, they might be running 45 miles an hour because they don't stop at the stop sign unless they absolutely have to.
Thank you. All right, any other questions from the board, comments?
I have a clarification for Mr. Sheehan. Can we make the motion contingent that the triangle study was done on the drive and the, I mean, if they would do it, wouldn't they?
I would assume so. I mean, that's something we can certainly ask the city engineer at next week's meeting.
So the reason I ask that, I probably call the city engineer more than anybody in Kokomo, because I'll come up to an intersection. I call him on bushes, I call him on trees, I call him on cars parked in the way. And I said, go out there and look at this triangle. Somebody's going to get hurt here. I mean, I'm not talking once or twice. It's probably 5 or 6 times a year. I come up on an intersection. To me, it's unsafe. So I call them and tell them, and a lot of times it gets taken care of. So I'm hearing every word you're saying about being able to get out of your driveway.
So what he's talking about, the triangle, is, you know, when you pull up to an intersection, if you can slice a certain distance back, cut across that corner, you should be able to have a clear view. So you can see traffic coming, you can see pedestrians, bicycles, things like that. So that's why Mr. Besser is saying, sometimes he gets to an intersection, he's like, you know what, I think there's an obstruction here. So he calls the city engineer, whether it's bushes or vehicles or things, different things like you just mentioned. So what he's asking, Mr. Sheeline, is can we make this contingent on the city engineer approval that, you know, that they've tested, they've said here's what the line of vision would be with the triangle and all right. So that's what he's asking. Mr. Sheeline, I think, is saying maybe we can do that here, but it's definitely a question that this week should be called, call should be made to the city engineer as neighbors saying, hey, what's the story here? You know, can you answer our questions in a nice way? You know, we'd like you to come maybe meet with us and explain to us if you think it's okay, why you think it's okay. Mr. Besser is saying, can we make if we approve it, make it contingent on the city engineer having to say, go out there and prove, yeah, that your vision will not be impeded, the vision of the intersection, things like that. Again, it's a question to be brought up next week, but if you do that homework beforehand, and what Mr. Besser is saying is if we make it contingent on that and the city engineer says, oh no, this isn't, there's a big concern here, and we pass it tonight, the city engineer says, oh no, then our vote doesn't matter if we make it contingent. Mike, are you in agreement with that?
Dead on, buddy.
Chuck, I got a question for either developer or whoever. How far from the edge of the roadway to where the building's going to be built is that setback?
That was my question. I want to know what footprint are we actually looking at now? Either center of road or edge of road. What is our footprint?
In front of the building.
Yeah, I've not seen the latest print. It sounds like it's changed a little bit. So
I don't care about the sidewalk. I want to know from the edge of the roadway to the front of the building.
I don't have an exact dimension, but it looks to be within at least 15 feet, probably more like 17 or 18.
From the edge of the
From
road
the edge of the road to the face of the building.
edge of the road. That's not center road.
No, edge of the road.
So again, that's the kind of thing that will be asked. I mean, that they can,
yeah.
not that will be asked, but that can be answered for sure, and it won't be a, I think it's this. Next
We
week,
can have
it's
it
this is it.
dead on dimension.
That matches what's said on next Tuesday night.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
And I see that picture with the stake, but I don't know what that stake necessarily means.
I wasn't worried about the driveway. I was worried about the building when they said,
Right.
you know, 5
might be more in that. That's what I was thinking.
3 stories up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's 3 stories. That's what I was concerned about. I wasn't worried about size. I was worried about the building.
All righty.
I'll find out 5 minutes after the meeting.
Okay, if there are no other questions or comments from the board or the audience, we will go ahead and move on. So we do have the motion and second for the approval of 14V18. Motion and second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Wait a minute, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry.
My question didn't get answered.
Oh, yeah, because if we need
My
to.
question didn't get answered. I can't.
Then make it contingent.
I didn't make the motion. I'm just asking whoever made the motion.
I'm not an attorney, but my guess is we can make it contingent,
I
yes.
mean, it should be done, in my opinion, and I think it is done, but I would sit here and hate like heck to vote one way, thinking that that study was done and that study was approved, and then find out that it wasn't. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Before I make a vote, I would like to have that contingency.
Who made the
in there, please.
motion?
I did.
Okay, so the question would be, would you be willing, sorry about that, Mike, we jumped the gun.
If he would like to make an addition to the motion, I would be more than happy to let him.
Okay, well, actually, I think the amendment needs to be made by the one who made the motion.
All you have to add is
All you need to
contingency
do
to
just
the
say
triangle. That's all you got to add.
contingent that, yes.
I'd like to amend the motion contingent upon the approval of
Vision triangle.
whatever.
The vision triangle?
The vision triangle.
That's all I need.
All right. Are you willing to second that?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have the amended motion for the approval of case 14V18. It's been moved and seconded to approve it contingent on the city engineer saying site of vision, the triangle looks good.
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay. Mr. Sheeline, for those present tonight, the meeting next Tuesday is also at 5 o'clock?
Same place, same time.
Same
Yep,
place,
5
same
o'clock
time.
right here, yes.
Thank you. Next case.
Yes, next case is case 5 SE 18, petition of Miles Handy, requesting special exception for operating a kennel commercial in the C1 zone, section 3.29. Property deprived is part of lot 4 in the southeast quarter of section 36, township 24 north, range 3 east, Center Township, Howard County, Indiana, at 220 East Markland Avenue. And if you remember correctly, Mr. Handy was here before us last month. We only had 4 board members, and the vote was 2-2. You have to have 3 votes to move it along, so that's why Mr. Handy's back before us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Real quickly, do I have a motion on case 5 SE 18?
I move that we approve case number 5 SE 18 and adopt the findings of the petitioner as those of the board and make those findings part of our permanent record.
Second.
All right, thank you. Has there been any ex parte communication regarding this case?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, go ahead and state your name and address.
It's Miles Handy, 313 North Leeds, Kokomo, Indiana, 46901. I just want to clarify some things about the last time I was here, just to let you guys understand what we're actually doing and what we're trying to do. And we're all into the downtown, we're into the walkable community, and so when I saw that location, I thought it was very suitable for what we were looking to do, because there's a lot of people that are employed downtown, and more by the day, and it's close to the Chrysler, close to the hospital, so it's close to centrally located, which is very important when somebody's going to drop their dog off for daycare or boarding or wherever. So that's why we decided to go there. I want to give you a little background about myself and dogs. And I've been around dogs all my life. I started actually raising dogs when I was 12 years old. I am a former American Kennel Club judge, field judge. I judged everywhere from Texas to Pennsylvania, in between. I currently have 2 champion dogs myself that I participate in American Kennel Club events. I have been a president of a American Kennel Club specialty club. So I've been around dogs my whole life, and you know, I've been in the pet food business ever since college, where, you know, I started in the distribution business, distributing dog food from town to town, and then I got into manufacturing pet treats and sold those all over the world. And so after 20 years of public service, you know, sitting on boards and commissions and as elected official, we came down to Kokomo, liked what we saw, and decided to relocate here. You know, and with that being said, you know, I opened up. I had to move a business. You know, we had the Pet Supply Plus because of we lost our lease after 23 years. We abruptly had to move and start up a new operation, and we lost the franchise, and it was a hardship. But you know, we still believed in Kokomo. We decided to open, you know, the doggy daycare, and that's what we did. So we did a lot of leasehold improvements. We painted the building twice. We you know, put up a nice fence. We put flooring, upgraded it. You know, the current facility has been used by faculty members at IUK. It's been used by Kokomo Police Department. It's been used by firemen who are naturally firemen for Kokomo. It's been used by UAW workers at Chrysler. So, you know, it's a real need for that type to be a, you know, a friendly area place. So this last few weeks we put in a pool for the dogs. So I got a bone-shaped pool, and it's with a deck, a sun deck around it with treated lumber. So, I mean, we do everything we can to make the quality of life of the animal important, because, you know, we make our living off it, but we do it because we have the passion to serve the community for the need of having a place. If you go down to Carmel or Indianapolis, there's all types of doggy daycares all over the place, several. And, you know, we saw that need talking with customers, and that's why we decided to, you know, invest in the community and do that. So I just want to give a background of myself, you know, with dogs and how we got involved in the Canine to 5 and what we're doing. There was also some concerns about being able to monitor the dogs. We did purchase a Panasonic system that's going to have 5 cameras that we can watch 24 hours a day. As far as going on a consistent basis, we do that to let dogs out all the time. I live down here, so if anybody, you know, so I'm there all the time, you know, as far as if it's Sunday night. This morning I was there at 6:30 this morning. Last night somebody left at 10:30. So we're always there, and if we see a need, we, you know, we're not gonna let dogs, you know, not, but although they sleep a lot because it's a daycare, they play hard. They, you know, the water, they're going crazy about the water, playing, but then we bring them inside, they're in the air condition. So, I mean, it's a nice facility. You know, it turned out nice. I think it's needed in the community, and you know, we hope you grant the variance, because I think it, you know, adds value for employers to where people have issues with their dogs. You know, one IUK professor was moving from Rushville downtown to across from the Foxen Trail there, and so as she was moving, she needed someone to watch her dog because she was from out of town. She moved in from Illinois, a math professor. You know, Linda from the Foxen Trail, you know, she drops whiskey off three times a week.
Now, Whiskey's the dog.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, yeah, she does. Yeah. Whiskey the dog. But you know, that maybe we could work out some trade there. See, I didn't think about that. So, but anyways, that's kind of the people that are using the facility, and you know, we understood that there's going to be some changes on Home and Markland, and so we were aware of all that, and you know, we're buying into it, and that's why we decided to go there. So, so you know, we moved here. I've got a 6, a 5, and a 2-month-old, or yeah, 2-month-old. You know, and we're participating here in Kokomo. We just, you know, hopefully, I mean, Hal knows we're on another project. You know, that I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not going to just have one business. I didn't move to Kokomo just to have a business.
So, Mr. Handy, right now you have the doggy daycare there.
Yes.
You're fine with that? I mean, it's allowed, it's legal, it's up and running. Your special exception to operate a kennel in a C1 zone is just to say, I'd like to be able to take care of the dogs 24
hours, correct.
As opposed to just the hours during the daytime that you currently have.
Correct. I mean, some people work nights, some people work days. You know, give employers flexibility, especially, you know, Chrysler. I mean, they have split shifts. So, I mean, if sometimes, I mean, we'll get there at 5 in the morning if whatever the client needs. So but that's basically it. But you know, there's not going to be outside kennels. So you know, you're not going to hear dogs barking. They're always inside, other than playtime. But I mean, you know, I don't think there's been a complaint as far as dogs barking. It's kind of in a industrial area, and there's a rental house back to it would be the east, and you know, we even let her utilize our parking lot to park. So she's has some health challenges, and so it's closer to her door. So, but
remind me again. What's a typical day number of dogs that you have?
Well, you know, it depends. I mean, we're just building. So spring break, we had as many as 20 dogs probably at the high. But, you know, but an average day is probably about 6 to 8. Okay. So, I mean, we can't survive on 6 or 8. But
so as of an evening, you would bring all the dogs inside?
Yes.
Close shop?
Yeah, we have what we call flats that are kind of, they're not cages, but they're like wood-made containment systems, so they don't look like cages. So they can be in there, or we have suites. And it used to be the old music store, so I kind of took some of where they probably had guitar lessons, individual rooms, and I turned those into doggy suites. So a dog, you know, or multiple dogs. So we have people that drop off 3 dogs, and they want to keep them all together because they're older, or you know, they just get along. So, but I mean, and most dogs actually get along with each other. Where dogs get kind of funny is around people, believe it or not, is because, you know, they're either protecting their owner, protecting their space, but if you let them free range, I mean, just like they do at the dog parks, you know, it's even better than that because we don't let other people in the back, so other than staff.
So I had some concerns last month about, excuse me, about monitoring.
Correct.
Dogs. You mentioned that you have 5 cameras, or will be able to have 5 cameras.
Correct.
Those will be inside or outside?
Well, we're going to have one probably outside. That way you can see the outside of the play yard, you know, and then we're going to probably have 3 or 4 inside. So, but I mean, if you walk into the facility off of Markland, you'll see I've got like a picket fence as you come into the door. So you've got to open the picket fence before you even, that way dogs can't get out. And then I've got a 6-foot vinyl fencing into the play area. So it's pretty difficult, but security and safety for the dogs is most important, especially being close to a busy road.
So remind me again how long the doggy daycare's been operating?
We started that just before Christmas.
So again, no complaints by neighbors about?
No, no. And like I said, we, keep it sanitary. We do the best we can. And so right now there's about 5 people working there currently. And so hopefully we're going to look at expanding operations to where we can actually go pick up someone's dog, bring them to the facility, then drop them back off for them at home, or do some home care stuff, look at some different options. So that's...
I know you asked for vet records because I've inquired about your place, and I didn't get a copy of them yet, but do you ask also for all the dogs to have a kennel cough shot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Vet records, Bordatello is important,
Yes.
So.
Okay.
Yep. So, and we've got a software package that we put it in. But yeah, we make sure they have shot records.
All right. Do you happen to have, or do we happen to have up here a copy of the findings of fact for 5 SE 18?
We have a copy, yeah. We've already read those into the record last month, so.
I know Lisa
we don't-
wasn't here,
That's
so-
why I gave them to her to read.
Oh, okay, so
Yes,
she's read
yes.
those.
Yeah, he gave me
Yes.
to read.
I gave those to her to read. That's why I brought them.
All right, good deal. Are there any other questions from anyone on the board?
I have quite a few.
Okay.
I was one of the people who voted no last month. Love dogs. Think your daycare center is a great idea.
Thank you.
Happy for you. My whole problem is you got a residence within 80 feet of your building. In the finding of staff report, they make the statement that you're going to have some type of soundproofing. If we discussed that, I missed it. Another question that I asked you last week was your average dogs and what's the maximum dogs. You couldn't give me an answer. What I'm not saying that you would be the person not to be good to a dog, but there has to be with your doggy suites and you have to max out somewhere. You have to be able to give me a number of how many dogs you can keep before you would start putting 2 dogs in a kennel and stuff like that. That's all I was looking for.
Okay, I would say probably in the neighborhood of about 40 dogs would probably be all we could handle, I mean, because the dogs go out, they use the restroom, and they usually use it together, So, I mean, but 40 would probably be about the max for that size. Pardon me?
Overnight.
40 overnight. Let's see. 14. We could probably handle 40 overnight. That would be a lot of dogs.
Not to interrupt you, but I've looked through your window at night. There, you have no room for 40 dogs. None. I was in the building when it was a guitar place.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't room for 40 dogs. You're asking for a lot of issues. You having 40 dogs in there. One, how many people did you say you had employed?
Well, we've got 5
They
currently.
can't take care of 40 dogs properly. I've worked in dog kennels all my life. I've worked at the Humane Society. You cannot take care of 40 dogs in the size of building you have, and them not even having outside runs of any kind. I know you got the back fenced in, and I went around the back because I wanted to make sure. I have a dog that goes under the fence. I wanted to make sure if you had my dog, she couldn't go under the fence because you've got all them busy streets there. She doesn't know anything about it. There's no way you could house 40 dogs, and no offense either. First of all, you're talking to the most probably nutcase up here when it comes to animals. Probably never works for me. It just don't. I want a yes or I want a no. A probably means I'll say 40 today, but I'm gonna squeeze 50 in tomorrow because I said probably.
Well, the reality,
This has gotta be a
right? I mean,
that's for me to vote.
I would.
I'm not talking for this commission.
We've got 1, 2, 5 suites, 6, 7, 8, 8, so, you know, you're probably 25 or 30, not probably, say 30 dogs would be at the max. It probably would never,
If you have
probably
5
would never.
suites and you put 3 dogs in each suite, there's 15 dogs. Your kennel area, which they are cages, they're wooden, but they have a cage door on the front, should only hold 1 dog. 2 at the max if they're a brother and sister group where they've lived together.
Or small dogs,
and they're
yeah,
very,
little.
very small. I wouldn't let my pit bulls be in there, I can tell you that. And even in the suites, they'd have to be big enough to house my 3 pit bulls, I'll be frank with you.
We have 2.
40 is excessive.
Yeah,
Very excessive.
yeah, no, and it would probably never have 40, but I would say, like I said, we've got 14 flats out there, where if you put 2 small dogs, it's more than it's more space than a lot of the veterinarians have the small kennels. Okay, if you go into the veterinarians here
Right,
locally,
they don't house 40 dogs.
well, they board dogs too, but I'm just saying they're a lot bigger. So getting back to your question, I've got 14 of those, okay? Then I've got like I said, I've got 14, and then I've got 1, 2, and 5. That's 19 plus another 19 and 6. I got like 26 single units. So, and that's not if on the suites. I mean, the suites are big. 2 of them are extremely big. Probably, I don't know, maybe 10 by 20 maybe. I didn't, but getting back to your thing, I think 30 dogs max would be around like spring break could be possible, but not probably more than that.
How many do you typically have overnight now, notwithstanding spring break?
Like 4, 5, if that. I mean, a lot of them are daycare, they just drop off. So a lot of times as the daycare leaves, you know, then if you have a boarder, you know, so you may not have that many, because some of them just come for playtime, say for 4 hours. So, or in the morning, and then they get picked up at noon, some of them. So, but you know, you're right. You know, 40 dogs is excessive. You know, I think, like I said, right at 30 would probably be, if you doubled some of the VIP suites, you would be, and then even we put the big dogs in there if, you know, we upgrade them if no one pays for the suite, just for humane reasons for the dog, plus it's easier for us and it's better for the dog. So, but I mean, I'd be comfortable if you said, you know, 30 dog max. You know, I hope we get to that all the time. Then we'll open another place in South End or something.
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I've spent hours and hours and hours on the internet trying to figure out sizes for dogs, what size cages they're supposed to be in, how many attendants they're supposed to have per dogs. It's a doggone shame that there's no standard.
Correct.
Okay? I can live with, I understand what you're trying to do with the daycare center. I agree with that. But when you're talking about overnight, the city doesn't have anything on the records. The county records, County Ordinance 2008 BCC 0-6, you can have a kennel within 1,000 feet of a residence. Okay? We don't have anything in the city. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to be fair to the people that live close to you and fair to the dogs for attention overnight. That's my concern. And if we don't come up with a number, I can't vote yes. I just can't do it. I can't do it. I have to know them dogs are going to be okay.
Yeah, I understand your point fully, and you know, and that's why I would be very happy with if you said a maximum of 30 dogs. I mean, I don't know, you know, what else we could do. Like I said, there's no neighbors. We sent out the certified mail to everybody, and no one, you know, that came has spoke before this body in an objection. You know, we put up nice, you know, wood fence to make it look nice, and you know, painted the building, and you know, and did it, you know, and trying to make it a better place. And so, I mean, but I fully understand your, and it is, I mean, I don't know, I mean, one veterinarian in town has a thing that says board your dogs here while you're on vacation. They don't have an outside play area for the dogs, you know. I mean, I know.
The veterinarian I go to does. I go to Northeast Animal Clinic, and yes, they do. They have a 8-foot fence in back with grass. I'll just be honest. I have thought about taking my dog, and I know we shouldn't be talking this, but I've never have followed your guys' rules anyway. So with that being said, I've thought about I've heard great things about your daycare. One of my friends that works with me took her dog and said, great. The dog had a great time. But kenneling is a whole different ball game. One, if you put them in a suite, you almost have to have a drain, because you've got dogs there in the middle of the night, unless someone is staying there with them to let them in and out, they're going to obviously do their business on the floor, and then all the dogs in that suite is walking through it or laying in it. So there's a lot goes. I thought about opening a kennel. That's why I'm saying I've looked around at buildings. There's a lot that goes into a kennel, and I'm just the people living around don't bother me as much as the dogs, and I'm going to tell you why. That area isn't really populated by homes. So I can't imagine the barking really, in my opinion, not anybody being offended by it. My concern is if you've got 30 dogs there and 5 people and nobody's spending the night, are those dogs going to be well taken care of?
Oh, they're well taken care of. I mean, we have horse mats also. So if you go to Rural King or wherever, you'll see the foam. I mean, so it's very soft. And if they do accidentally have an accident, it's easy to clean up. It puddles, and then we use the Parvo disinfectant that's veterinary approved. We buy it right here from the local businessman right down here. I mean, so we try to trade, you know, within our community. And I mean, Phillips, it's right here, the janitorial supply place. I mean, last month they probably spent $200 with him. You know, I mean, we're trying to be a good steward, and believe me, you know, I tell the staff, I want, you know, if a dog has an accident, you know, I want it warm. I don't want it cold. So they, you know, they pick it up, spray the disinfectant, and then we move on. So but due to the fact that they're let out a lot, you know, we don't have a lot of accidents within the kennels. And most of them are house dogs. I mean, 95% of them are probably house dogs, maybe even 100%. I don't want to say 100%. So most of these dogs are well trained, and you know, but like I said, I've been around dogs my whole life, and if I got to give a dog a pill or whatever, we administer it. We do whatever the client needs to keep, you know, the dog healthy while it stays. The main thing is we don't want it, you know, stressed out, okay? That's why a lot of our clients will come and bring their dog for, you know, a play date. And then before they'll do an overnight, they do several play dates, and the dog thinks they're just coming to, you know, Chuck E. Cheese's for dogs, you know? And so, but we've done some amazing things with dogs. I mean, I could have had several people speak on our behalf, but I didn't think it was necessary, because I think you guys understand how, you know, this will add value to the community. But we've had, you know, dogs that were afraid of basically, you know, socializing with, you know, other dogs or people, come just foaming at the mouth, and now they're jumping out of the car to try to get into play. So it adds quality of life, you know, to the dogs. So the dog's not at home eating the furniture of the owner. It's having a good play date. So, but I hear all your concerns, and all I can tell you is we'll do the best we can. I think, if I could have drainage and everything, and do things, maybe the next facility, if this is successful, we can have a nice place. Some of those places down in Noblesville and Carmel and that, $1 million, $2 million operations. And this is, it's a working man's town here. I don't want to, price something out of the, there's not a lot of Morton Steakhouses in Kokomo either. We got to price accordingly, plus add service, I think. And like I said, we've had, police officers, fire department, faculty at IUK. We've had numerous people.
Mr. Handy, I'm one who voted yes last time. Part of that was based on, your experience with the animals. As you mentioned this evening, the number of years you had the business, and the fact that you're already allowed to do what you're already doing with the daycare. And if people are continuing to bring their dogs there, I'm guessing that they approve. The ones who are coming back are approving of what's happening there. They're happy. I mean, their dog hasn't given them any indication, don't take me back there. And I thought, okay, so we would just basically be extending the hours of your business and the service that you're providing. I don't have a pet. If I could, I would definitely have a dog. It wouldn't be fair to the dog, though, based on my schedule. But
there's a good daycare in town you could drop.
There you go. Well, one reason, then the other reason that I felt like I could vote yes here is because I think, and I could be totally wrong, but I think if a person cares enough about taking their dog to a kennel, not saying that they don't care about their dog, but if a person is going to take their dog to a kennel and pay for that service, I would imagine that person is also going to check out what your facility is. And in my mind, I'm thinking if people have concerns with the service you're providing, then they'll take their business elsewhere. And if our board approves this and people don't come, then it doesn't matter. But if you're doing a good job with it, then my concerns or the board's concerns maybe won't be that big of an issue, and people will come. So I think it's important that you hear the questions and the concerns that the board is asking. But that's why I voted yes last time, because I felt like, based on your track record, I felt pretty comfortable. And again, knowing that, if you don't do a good job with a kennel, then your kennel won't be around.
Well,
but it sounds like
exactly.
daycare is, so.
And like you said, the socialization of the animals. I mean, a lot of animals go to the shelter based on, they have behavioral problems. Some of the behavioral problems are based on being left at home alone, bored. So then they come in and they'll have disruptive behaviors, chewing furniture, chewing, carpet, chewing shoes, purses, all types of things, wood decks. So what this does, it gives, people that do have, and we do have a trainer that comes in, and we train dogs and have classes, and part of the training is working with the people to understand how to work with the dog that might have a behavioral problem. So we're trying to work on that so they don't have separation anxiety. Like, hey, right now it's fireworks. There's a lot of dogs are scared of fireworks. So we try to work with them and explain to them how to get over, loud noises, how to work with them so they're not, tearing up a house because, there's fireworks going off in the neighborhood. So, we want to be a partner in those aspects to hopefully reduce, animals in the shelter.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions from the board at this point?
I just want to reiterate one more time. I think you're doing a great job on a daycare center. You haven't answered any of my question about overnight stay. So,
how is that?
I still don't have a number. I still don't know how many you're going to do.
I said 30, yeah.
He said 30.
Yep.
And he didn't say probably.
Yeah.
He said 30.
Yeah.
I can specify that in my motion if you want.
It's part of the record. I don't know if you have to do that or not. It's
part of the record.
If it's part of the record, you go back and listen to the record and do it. So,
Did you have other questions there, or is that the main concern?
that's my main concern. The doggies at night, that's my concern. That's my concern, period.
And for those who weren't here last time, that, one of my concerns was the supervision, if you will, or, you know, what if, and he addressed a little bit there with the security cameras, and, I mean, it's, I know with a lot of those systems now, you get notifications on your phone for a lot of things. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to be heard regarding this case? Okay, if you'd step to the microphone, please state your name and address.
My name's Hal Metz, 1600 Cadillac Drive here in Kokomo. And the reason I wanted to say something is, Lisa and Mike, I think knowing Miles and knowing the operation, I don't think your questions he could answer correctly now. You know, how many dogs, the capacity of the dogs, I don't think that is a question that he's prepared, you know, that he has a preparation. He didn't know you were going to ask that question. So he's doing it off the fly, and he says 30. If 30 is too many, he won't have 30. You know, so the, you know, the maximum number is going to be the maximum number that can handle. Yes, Mike?
Lisa's said she's worked in a kennel. He said he's worked around dogs all his life. I got one dog, okay?
Mhm.
The dog runs the roost. She gets up when she wants. She goes to bed when she wants. She goes out when she wants. She eats when she wants. She changes the TV channel when she wants. It's all that, okay? I don't have any idea how many attendants it takes for one dog, two dogs, three dogs. I don't know. I don't know what's fair, and that's all I'm asking for. Is a fair ratio to an attendant, to a dog, and the dog in the evening. That's it. That's what I'm saying.
And a lot of that depends also on your mix. I mean, you know, if you have some high energy dogs like German Shorthair pointers, Labrador Retriever, sporting breeds, mix in a Rottweiler and a Newfoundland, I mean, you get crowded quick. So a lot of it's just based on your mix too. So, you know, and we take that into consideration. Like this, so I mean, we're not going to put a dog in harm's way out of packing them in like sardines. That's not why, you know, we open the business. We hope it's successful, that we can, you know, have another facility maybe on the south side, you know, but right now I think this does really well for this area, and but we're not going to jeopardize the well-being of the dogs based on. That's why we put the pool in. It's been hot, and you know, I wanted to make sure they had adequate, you know, water available that we drain out, and that they can cool off, jump in, cool off, and that's what they do. They jump in it, cool off. Or we're doing some stuff with sprinklers coming up too. So the dogs they like the heat.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anyone else? Any other questions or concerns? We do have the motion and the second for the approval of case 5 SE 18. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sheline.
Next case, well, the next two cases are continued, if you remember correctly, from a couple hours ago. Next case is case 8 SE 18. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. Petition of Lori Edwards from Mako LLC requesting a special exception for a multifamily dwelling, 17 units or more, in an M2 zone Section 3.17 for property described as part of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 24, Township 24 North, Range 3 East, that part known locally as Roosevelt School, Center of Kokomo, City of Kokomo, Center Township, Howard County, Indiana, 2200 North Washington Street.
Do I hear a motion on case 8 SE 18?
I move that we approve case 8 SE 18 and adopt the findings of petitioners, those of the board, and make those findings part of the record.
All right, thank you.
Seconded.
Thank you. Any ex parte communication regarding this case? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I am Lori Edwards. I am a developer with Mako Development. We are interested in developing 56 senior housing units at this particular property at 2200 North Washington Street. So we are here requesting three total, two variances, I should say, and one special exception. And the special exception would be to build more than 17 units. The variances then would be to build, for parking at 1.42 ratio rather than a 2-to-1 ratio. So this is senior housing. We will also have 12 units reserved for those with physical and developmental disabilities. Therefore, we have 80 parking spaces, and we felt that was adequate based on the market and based on the demand for senior housing and also those with physical disabilities to reduce that parking ratio a little bit.
Okay, before you go on, I am going to ask Mr. Sheline, should we go ahead and also have a motion for case 11 or 16 V18?
They are separate cases. We need to do them individually.
Okay.
So the first case.
So the first one, if you will,
Talk for 17 or more units.
as we go into, we'll just talk about the special exception. I was going to say then we could vote on each of them separately at the end, but she could address everything at once. But we'll just talk about the need for the special exception, and then if we approve that, we'll move on to the next case.
Okay. So, yeah, this is currently zoned M2, which would allow for up to 86 units. We are well within that. The zoning, it is currently already zoned, and we are well within that at 56 units. So the special exception, I understand it's kind of an older zoning ordinance that's on the books, and we are then just asking for an exception to that to build more than 17 units. So still within our zoning, but outside that exception.
And for those members who are on the Plan Commission, if you remember a few years ago, this property was rezoned to M2 basically for this type of facility. And for whatever reason, that did not happen, but that's why the property is already zoned the way it is. So.
Yeah, different developer. That was not us.
Correct.
Yeah, roughly 2014 it came in for a senior housing development.
All right, are there any questions from the board in the special exception? Anyone in the audience wishing to be heard regarding this special exception request? Okay.
I'm not here.
Okay.
And I'm very interested.
Okay, if you'll step forward, maybe, and you can tell us your name and address, and then tell us what's your question, and we'll try to get it answered.
This is Sandra Rio. I live across the street from the proposed thing, and I just want to know what's going to go in there.
Okay, and your address?
101 West Home Lawn.
Okay.
And I've lived there for almost 60 years. And I don't want no trash in there. What are we going to do with Little League? They do use that for a parking lot.
Okay. We'll let Ms. Edwards.
I don't think you heard. I'll repeat what I said. We are developing 56 senior housing apartment units. They will have a mix of a 3-story design facing Washington Street, and then a back towards where your apartments, or towards where your house is, excuse me, there will be single-story apartments along Home Lawn, 4 units on each side, Home Lawn and Barkdale. We have already been in contact with the mayor, and they expressed an opinion and a desire to keep some parking reserved for the ballpark. And so the 80 spaces will be for the residents, but because we are in a qualified census tract, which is a HUD designation, we are able to reserve 16 units that will be along, I'm blanking out on the other street there, that facing the ballpark. Those will be reserved for ballpark attendees. So there will be parking maintained, and we will not.
You said 16?
Mm-hmm.
When that's all filled up, That's filled up, and Little League is filled up with cars. There's lots and lots of cars.
Well, I will say, I mean, I know you're saying that,
My house and help built the Little League, and so I'm stating up for it.
Okay, good.
well, I would say, I don't know that the Little League, I don't know,
They're not in the winter time.
but I don't know if the Little League owns the property where
Little
the
League
people are
does
parking.
not own the property. It is owned by the school corporation who has deeded it and donated it to the city. And again, it's been donated to, will be donated to our development for future development. So it's been vacant for, it's been vacant for several decades, and there's an opportunity to.
You give it to the lady that wanted to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I've actually got copies too. I probably did give my address, sorry, for the record. 1328 Marshside Court, Indianapolis, Indiana, but I grew up here, if that matters. So.
Hi, Brian West, 2139 North Delphus, Kokomo. I've been involved with the ballpark for 33 years. I think the main concern and the thing we have to settle, I mean, kind of get right out in the open is the parking. And just to make sure that the people at Northside know, hey, we used to park there, we don't park there no more, we can park there, we can't park there, because as Mrs. Real said, we'll fill that parking lot up now, plus everything at Northside. When we redid the ballpark, they cut all of our parking out of the ballpark and said, don't worry about it, you'll always park across the street. So that's where you're going to face the challenges with Northside, because we gave up so much parking spots at Northside when the city took over the ballpark and told us we could park across the street forever. So that's the problem we're going to face, that Lori's going to face, that the people at Northside's going to face. I don't know how many parking lots. I think we've counted them one time, and there's maybe 100 spots there. I don't know. We'd have to go count them again. But they striped it and everything. That's going to be the problem that Northside's going to have. It's not that the building's going in and Kokomo's expanding. It's that we were told that if you give up this, you're going to have that. So,
Brian, can you give us an idea of how many games are played over the course of a season?
Well, I know that the Major League plays 16 games, and I would assume the minor league does. I'm not the president this year, but I have been in the past. But I would say that's a 16-game schedule. They interleague with Greentown, East Side, and sometimes South Side. So you don't only have one league coming there, you have 3 leagues coming.
How many teams are based at Northside?
Well, there's 3 major league, minor league, and then
How many minor league teams, how many major?
One minor league team, 3 major league teams, 5 T-ball teams, and 3 rookie. Okay. But you take that and then you say, okay, East Side's coming over.
How many diamonds do you have?
2 diamonds.
Okay.
A playground, and on the back side of it's the nature walk. That nature walk, actually, nickel plate, ends right on Northside's property.
So you're Northside Little League, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for Little League. I was minor league director at Southside. I know fully well what goes on. My question, is the area that you have up there at Northside is not a whole lot different than what is UCT. Is that right?
No, I would say no. I mean, there's a big difference, actually. Yeah. I mean, are you talking about parking? Are you talking about kids?
I'm talking about overall area of the Diamond Park and parking areas.
No, I mean they're similar. Yeah. The parking lot's not. We have more parking spots than they do.
Okay.
I know what the point you're getting at, but they wasn't told that you're going to be able to park here forever.
Who told you?
When we did all of the mayor and everybody, when they redid it, they said you always have that parking spot over there.
When was that?
I would say 2015. When they acquired the property. I was president then, and that's what they said. Because we asked.
Probably never written down, though, was it?
No. But we asked for more parking where it is now. There's a huge green, or a huge field, and he said we like to have that green space. So we'll always have the parking spot across the street. So. I'm just trying to avoid the problems now, so we can explain to the members of Northside that, you know, hey, don't go over there, and you can't park there, you can park there. I don't know how many spots is going to be there, but
Ryan, did they yellow off parking spots where Roosevelt was at?
I think they're white. I mean, I get what you're saying. They striped them.
The city?
Yeah. Are they white or yellow stripes? I mean, there's parking spots. I mean, I know what you're saying. I'm just trying to say, because it wasn't put down in writing, that's why.
Park there
Yeah. They said we could use it,
to make parking places.
utilize it, and that's one of the reasons to keep the green space that we did at Northside to leave. And it does look better than, you know, it all filled up parking, but we might have to ask to say, hey, if we're giving up this, let's go ahead and utilize that green space for parking spots. You can't pick them all up that you're going to lose at Roosevelt, but you can pick up some. And then I don't know about what the other neighbors are going to say, because right now we're staying out in front of the neighbor's house because they have that parking lot.
Well, I can tell you, I was involved in the Little League for a long time too. Brian and I have known each other for a long time, and unfortunately, none of our Little League parks have the proper amount of parking. I mean, that's always a problem.
Right.
It's always a problem for a few weeks in the summertime when Little League's going on. It goes away after that, but
right.
there is an issue, you know, and if the ballpark doesn't own the property, yes, you can utilize it, but therefore if someone else comes in and buys the property, and I understand what Brian's saying completely, because parking is an issue at every Little League park we have.
Right.
But fortunately, it's there for a short period of time,
Right.
but it is a problem during May, June, and July mainly.
Yeah.
It's a problem, and I certainly understand, but
And that's why I'm trying to get to the point right away so we can start putting out flyers. And, well, I don't know when it's even going to start, but I'm assuming by next baseball season, we're going to be able to say, hey, you have to park down Main Street, and hopefully we'll get some more parking, and here's where you can and cannot park. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Quite possibly, it would be 2 years. We have a timeline to start May or June next year if we are awarded. And so this isn't probably anything I need to tell this board, but we would be happy to work with, you know, the ballpark and try to find some small lot that we could even, you know, possibly purchase or something. If, you know, we'd be happy to work with you. We don't want to inconvenience the whole neighborhood for a few weeks, but I do understand, and I've grown up around ballparks too, that it is just a concentrated time of year and then it goes away. So we would love to see if we can accommodate you guys.
Might be a good partnership. Get the residents over cheering on some ball games.
I agree. I think it would be just a benefit for us to come in the community and show that we're trying to add to it, not take anything away, to be a major.
Some of your residents would go over there and partake of watching the games there.
And that's one of the concept we had was that, as we have other concepts, we've been talking with Susan Alexander about the Greater Economic Development Alliance, and she's got art ideas that we're bringing to the site and services for the residents. And as well, I think we thought the seniors would maybe benefit a little bit of the energy that the ballparks bring, and, you know, maybe be a little bit of nostalgia, but also they might have some grandkids there that they could watch as well. So.
And some of our ballparks have pretty good food at their concession stands too.
That could be too, yeah.
I'm pretty impressed. Can you tell? All right. Well, is there anyone else? Any other questions on this case, the special exception? Okay, we do have the motion for the approval and the second. Oh, we didn't read the findings.
You haven't read the findings yet.
So since we have those, we'll move to the findings. It's been a long meeting. Yeah. Okay, if you'll go ahead and read the petitioner's findings.
For the variance special exception. Hold on, petitioners. Proposal will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. When the
And then, yeah, you'll read the bullet.
Oh, I'm sorry. What the applicant will construct will be harmonious with the surrounding properties and is consistent with property uses in the area. The requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. blah, 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 other than the special exception requested and the variance also requested simultaneously by the applicant, the requirements and development standards for the use of the property will be met. C, the exception requested is consistent with the use of the property under the zoning ordinance. No injury will result to the other properties or uses in the same district and in the same vicinity. The applicant is not proposing any use for the property that is inconsistent with the zoning ordinance or the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan for the affected area. Therefore, the proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district and the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and the community and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan.
Okay, thank you. And staff findings?
I guess I better read the right ones home. Staff findings for case 8 SE 18. Proposal will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. Addition of a new modern multi-family structure will not be injurious to the surrounding community. Requirements and development standards for the requested use as prescribed by this zoning ordinance will be met. The buildings meet the minimum requirements for front and side yard setbacks in the zoning district. The new 56-unit development will meet all setbacks and development standards, but 2 development standards that will not be met are to be addressed in variance case 16V18. The variance requested are for parking and minimum floor area per unit. The granting of the exception will not subvert the general purposes served by this zoning ordinance, will not permanently injure other property or uses in the same district and vicinity. Addition of a new modern building that will infill a currently vacant lot will have a positive impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. A multifamily dwelling is consistent with the current spirit of the area. The proposed use will be consistent with the character of the district therein, the spirit and intent of this zoning ordinance, and the Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. This neighborhood is currently residential and commercial, and this area is allocated for those same uses in the City of Kokomo Comprehensive Plan. According to the City of Kokomo zoning ordinance, multifamily housing is appropriate to be adjacent to both commercial and residential districts. The staff supports granting this special exception for a 56-unit multifamily development.
Okay, thank you. All right, having heard the findings from both, having heard questions and answers from the board and the neighborhood. Oh. A hand went up. Ma'am, did you have one more question?
Just want to know where the trash was going to be. Yeah, I want to know where the trash is at. I don't want to cross the street.
And again,
We don't have that.
that's one thing that'll be addressed next week, but it definitely won't be out in the front of where you'll. Well, I don't know.
That won't be next week. That'll be approved site plan.
Next week is where that'll be addressed. So.
Same time?
Same time, same place, next Tuesday.
At the end?
I don't know what their agenda looks like.
Yeah, we only have
Not
about,
sure.
I think we have six or seven cases in the.
Yeah, this meeting is longer than it's been in a long time, tonight's meeting. So, and that's with several cases continued, so.
Well, I just don't want to, in the summertime, trash flies,
Understand.
Right.
They'll be enclosed.
Yes. Probably there along Main Street, because it's not going to go on Washington Street.
Well, come next Tuesday night. Next Tuesday at 5 here is when to ask that. So, all right.
Keep taking crazy down the street.
Okay. We do have a motion. Are you guys good if I ask this question? We have a motion and a second on case 8 SE 18. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last case. 16V18, petition of Lori Edwards for Mako LLC, requesting a variance of 100 square feet to section 3.18 median floor area per unit, and a variance of 32 parking spaces to section 6.46A in an M2 zone at 2200 North Washington Street. And these are the two variances that Lori requested that I talked about earlier. The floor area, the 32 parking spaces. As we all know, our parking standards in our ordinance needs to be updated, so therefore we have a lot of variances for parking standards, and we've looked at it. I think it's 80 spaces if I remember correctly, and that should be plenty for that type of facility.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve case 16V18 and adopt the findings of the petitioners as those of the board and make the findings part of the record.
Seconded.
Okay, any ex parte communication regarding case 16V18? Okay. Thank you. So we'll let you go ahead now. Now
Oh,
you
do
can
my
address
findings.
16V18.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it'll be quick.
So basically, that's where you started to address a little bit ago, the variance.
Floor area.
So now I'm just talking about the
Square
variances.
feet.
Okay, I thought we were kind of wrapping up.
The parking variance.
Yeah, the variance, variance one will be to reduce the number of one-bedroom unit square footage from the mandatory 800 per your zoning ordinance to 700 square feet. To capitalize on, I think, another petitioner, the 700 square feet is a very marketable size for a one-bedroom. We have then two bedrooms that will be 950 square feet, and so we feel like that's an ample marketable rate and unit size for senior housing. The second variance then is again the parking of 80 spaces. We will then be offering 1.2 spaces per every unit, and with a small portion of the units being reserved for special needs, we do predict that at most we would probably have 40 to 50 spaces even utilized, just an estimate, but we allow for 80 in case there's two persons in the household.
Okay. All right, and you have your staff findings on this case. I'm sorry, your petitioner's findings on this case.
Number one, what the applicant will construct will be harmonious with the surrounding properties and is consistent with the property uses in the area. Number two, the applicant's affordable housing development will increase property values in the area. Number three, the practical difficulties exist due to the size and configuration of the land that is proposed to be developed. Therefore, the practical difficulties are not self-imposed and have no relationship to restricted economic gain from the development of the property.
Okay, and the staff findings?
Staff findings for case 16V18, approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The proposed structure will meet all required setbacks and will not impede on any recorded easements. The variance requested for reduced amount of parking and reduced floor area will not be harmful to the community. The use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. The variance for floor area will not impact the surrounding areas, and is an issue that will only impact future tenants who would make the choice to live there. The variance concerning reduced parking should not heavily impact the surrounding area. This will be a senior living community with some units set aside for those with intellectual disabilities. Many in these populations do not have more than one vehicle or any vehicles at all. With the planned 80 spaces, this works out to 1.4 spaces per unit rather than the required 2. Granting these variances to allow the infilling of this currently empty lot with a new modern structure will have a positive impact on property values in the neighborhood. The strict application of the terms of this zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulty. This situation shall not be self-imposed nor be based on a perceived reduction of or restriction of economic gain. If these variances are not granted, the petitioner will be unable to fully utilize the property as they desire. This would force them to alter their current plans. These plans have been crafted in order to maximize the score that they may receive in order to get the tax credit necessary to build this development. If the plans must change, their score will not be as high, and their ability to obtain the grant and develop an empty lot will be compromised, resulting in a practical difficulty.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board regarding 16B18? Anyone in the audience have different questions about this same case or same property? Okay. We do have a motion and second for the approval of 16B18. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other business? Congratulations. Thanks. Is there any other business to be brought before the Kokomo City Board of Zoning Appeals this evening?
I have no other business, Mr. President.
Anyone else? I have a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Thank you all.
Wonderful.